Well, hi there. This is Alora from Firebird Summit. I wanted to talk about something this week that has been coming up as a recurring theme both in my life and in my friends as well as my clients. And that is friendship, particularly the difficulties in making friends as we get older. This has been a big theme in my life this past year and a half or so. But it's become a consistent source of conversation, both in my work and in my social life. And I wanted to come back to this because I think it's something that I see more and more people really struggling with and trying to understand how to solve and what needs to be changed in order to make that happen. You know, as kids, we live in an environment that's very organized around social interaction and making friends and meeting people to be able to create those bonds with. And it's part of the education process. It's part of what's really essential in our early development. As we get older, our focus changes, even though some of the social constructs we live within still kind of lend itself towards that. But I think what I see more often than not is that people, as we get older, really rely on work as the source of our friendship. People who have a really strong involvement in a church might look in that environment more, but for the most part, it's work. It really seems to be the anchor for most of us to find friends. And that's fine to a point, but the problem with that is that can be extremely limiting. And that especially as more and more of us do, like what I'm doing, either work for yourself, work remotely, or work in more temporary environments where we kind of float from one environment to the next or one project to the next, it becomes difficult to be involved with a group of people on a regular enough basis that we really start to develop deep and lasting friendships. And this really started becoming clear to me how much of this we kind of contribute to ourselves when I was watching my grandmother this past couple of years. 2 years ago, she moved into a senior apartment complex. And as she did that, she gave up her old friends, most of whom were gone, and found herself in a completely new setting where she had to make a whole new group of friends. Well, at this time, my grandmother had a dog. Now, anybody who knows me knows that I am a huge, huge dog person. Unfortunately, my grandmother's dog was very ill-behaved, not well socialized. And so my grandmother literally had to walk around her new apartment complex with a sign posted on her walker that said, "Please don't pet my dog." Because she was honestly at risk of biting anybody who came near my grandmother. Now, about a year ago, my grandmother's dog died. She was old, it was time, she died. A few months later, my grandmother got a new dog. And what was really interesting to me was that my grandmother was stunned. The first time I talked to her, the week after she got her dog, she said, "Oh my God, Laura, I can't believe it. Like 15 people stopped to talk to me because they wanted to pet the dog." And my grandmother discovered that part of the sense of isolation she had been feeling was because this well-intended, though ill-behaved, little dog was scaring other people off. She was so protective of my grandmother that she literally would not let my grandmother have any other social interactions as long as she was around. And I kind of like this as a metaphor for a lot of us because many of us get to the habit of thinking, "Oh, I'm an introvert, I hate small talk," or "I don't want to just meet people at work," or, "You know what, the modern political climate has alienated all the people that I used to be friends with," or, "You know, I don't have anything in common with those people anymore." And we use all of these excuses and all of these things around us to help reinforce what ultimately becomes a growing sense of isolation. Not long ago, I was given a piece of advice by an elderly woman who said, "It's important to constantly make new friends, and it's even more important that they're always younger." She said, "Because that's what keeps you young as you get older." And when I look at my friends who haven't really made new friends in a long time, or I see my group of friends, some of whom we've been friends for about 20 years, I realize we really haven't brought a lot of new blood into a lot of those relationships. And as we grow older and we grow apart, we move to different parts of the world, we do see things change because of religion and politics. It becomes really clear that we are creating our own cocoon of isolation. So, my question for this week: what is the one thing you could do differently? If you consider all of your self-defense mechanisms, like my grandmother's dog, to be guarding and preventing you from opening up to the possibility of meeting new people, what's the one thing that you would change? And you know what? Maybe if making new friends feels like a big hurdle right now, maybe the first best place to consider starting is reconnecting with old ones that you haven't talked to in a while. So, in that case, have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.